All right. So the October meeting was on October 10th. All the trustees were present. They discussed GPMs 5.1 to 5.2 and constraint progress measure 4.2. Also, the superintendent's report included the legislative agenda. So goal 5 is related to the percentage of graduates who are college or career military ready. So they said that they were on track with this goal. There's an increase from 2022 to 2023 from 67% to about 90%. So pretty significant increase. One thing to say is that this isn't the most recent class of graduates. This data, CCMR data, is always like on a year lag. So it's actually from the 2023 class, but they did provide estimates for where they think the class of 2024 is going to land for all of this data. GPM 5.1 was related to percentage of students meeting TSI. So they said that they were progressing in this goal. There was an increase from 2022 to 2023, about 27 to 34%, but the district was a little bit under their target of 35%. They did provide the estimate for this past year's graduating class. They think they're going to be about 59% overall. So pretty significant increase. And then GPM 5.2 is related to industry-based certification. So they said that they were on track with this goal, went from 30% in 2022 to about 60% in 2023. One thing that they did want to say is there's a requirement/rule adjustment between 2023 and 2024. So previously, students just needed to pass an IBC exam, but now they have to be enrolled in the course or courses that are attached to that area of certification in addition to passing the exam. So the data, the columns on the far left, the three where it says class of 2023 actual, that is the data that's going to be recorded. 59% of students obtained IBC. But they also wanted to share what that data might look like with these new rules applied. So obviously it would decrease the percentage of graduates obtaining an IBC. But they did say that with the adjustment moving forward, they estimate that the data from 2024 is going to increase again. And then CPM 4.2 is just related to the gap between African American and emergent bilingual students when compared to other students enrolled in rigorous coursework. So district said that they were on track with this goal. They said it's been basically steadily decreasing that gap since 2018. They landed at 6.6% last year. And then their goal by the end of next year is to be less than 5%. And then for all of these slides, the data is disaggregated by student group. So they talked about the importance of counseling services and CCMR and the CCMR dashboard to ensure that students, when they're on a pathway, that they are actually able to complete all of the coursework that's required by the end of their senior year, and there are no gaps or barriers to doing that. So, students who are CCMR met have higher rates of post-secondary success. If they don't, pass the TSI exam, for example, that could just be a huge barrier to even applying to college. And then this also can help the district qualify for outcomes-based funding. So Trustee Mitchke shared, GPM 5.2 just shows how the district can adjust when new rules and requirements are applied and they know in advance. He talked about last year's lawsuit and, the retroactive application of rules, how that is much more difficult for the district to plan for. And then also maybe evaluating if TSI should be a component in TEI teacher evaluations. It's not currently, but he said maybe you should look at that in lieu of ACP exams. And then Trustee White wanted to know if they anticipate the number of TSI Met students to increase. They do. Also, how are parents notified of what courses their students are in? So the students have goal-setting conversations at the beginning of the year with counselors, and then letters are sent home explaining what courses their students are in, and counselors are encouraged to schedule time with parents. And then how often can students take the TSIA? So they take it on their junior year after basically is concurrent with Algebra 2 and English 3. And then also in that spring, they take the SAT. So if they pass the SAT, that would mean that they were TSI met. If they don't pass, they can then take it in the fall of their senior year. Trustee Mackey just wanted, to explain kind of the benefits of being TSI met. So If students TSI met, that student does not have to take remedial courses in college, which would cost them additional time and money. It also can just be a barrier to a student even wanting to apply, or, if they are taking those remedial courses in college, they might be more likely to drop out because of that additional time and money that it costs. And then how much outcomes-based funding could this generate? So over 8 million. It depends on a variety of factors, but one of the things they discussed was if students meet TSI through college prep courses, the TSIA assessment, SAT or ACT, that could change how much funding is distributed. And then he wanted to know how the data would change if it did not include students who just were TSI met through college prep courses. So it would obviously decline 34% in 2024, 26% in 2023. And then what steps are being taken to close the gap for that enrollment in rigorous courses? So they discussed every campus has a student mentor or AP ambassador that is basically acts as a peer mentor and is also kind of a recruitment tool. And then they have virtual courses. So if a student at their home campus, if they're not able to take, the next course in a sequence because it's not offered at their school, they still might have the opportunity to do so via an online class. And then probably the biggest driver of this is the policy change from the past couple of years that they've been talking about for about like 2 years now. Moving from an opt-in model to an opt-out model with these courses. So for example, if a student in 5th grade gets meets on a test, they are, on the STAR test, they're automatically enrolled in honors courses in middle school. So they would have to like opt out if they didn't want to be included in that. Because it's automatic, they've just seen a huge influx of enrollment in these courses. And then what steps are taken to help schools that have higher gaps for this CPM 4.2? They said the central team will provide support to teachers to identify rigor and effective instruction. And Trustee Curry wanted to know if there are any other drivers related to increased AP enrollment. So they said the importance of the increase in counselors to be able to help with course enrollment, course management, and also offering relevant courses like AP African American Studies. And what are the benefits of college prep courses? So they talked about if a student passes the TSIA in either math or reading, but not both, they can take a college prep course to basically supplement, the subject that they did not pass in. They also said that typically the students, test after they take these college prep courses and they pass the test. If they still don't pass, they still do not, as long as they took a college prep course, they don't have to take remedial classes. So it eliminates that barrier again. And then he just wanted to see data on students, not only just the enrollment in these honors courses, but the actual success rate on, AP exams, IB exams, the programs itself, and just overall post-secondary success. Trustee Weinberg wanted to know, are AP teachers evaluated on outcomes of AP exams with TEI? They are not, but they are considering it. And then do middle and high schoolers set their own CCMR goals? They do. Counselors capture that data in a platform called School Links. And then how are parents involved? So it varies by campus, but counselors are encouraged to schedule time with parents. And middle schools also host CCMR nights so they can explain the pathways before the student is actually in high school. And then how do students gain the soft skills associated with CCMR? So it's embedded in the curriculum. And then Trustee Foreman just wanted a breakdown of how many students are career ready versus military ready versus college ready. She also wanted to see data on the students who aren't in rigorous courses or who drop out of them. And then what happens to students who want to change pathways like midway. So they can do that. The counselors, support those students with changing courses. And then Trustee Carrion just wanted to know, how do students actually meet CCMR? So they have to do one of the following: obtain meets on both the reading and math portion of the TSIA, earn 9 hours of dual credit, pass an AP exam with a 3 or higher, pass an IB exam with a 4 or higher, or obtain an industry-based certification. The second part of the briefing was related to the legislative agenda. So they talked about last year's session, the 88th session, as well as the 2 special sessions that were held. They discussed vouchers and private school subsidiaries. Those were not passed. And then they also talked about property tax relief. The biggest headline with this is there's no new significant funding for public education, $4 billion has been appropriated, but has not yet been distributed to districts. And then they also talked about House Bill 3, which was the mandate for armed officers at every campus with some additional school safety requirements, and how that was not fully funded by the state. So ultimately, there's been no increase to the basic allotment since 2019. It's currently stands at $6,160 per student. They also shared this like graph to visualize this. So since 2019 to 2025, you can look at the bar graphs, they're going up. So it appears that there has been an increase in dollars, but the red line represents the amount of dollars adjusted for inflation. And there, when you look at that, it's actually been a $10 billion decrease from 2019. They also shared the impact of underfunded mandates. So here are some of them. The total cost to the district is about $70 million. So the difference between, what the state is distributing through reimbursement versus the actual expenditures that's required to fulfill these mandates. They also shared some of the organizations that the district partners with and what their proposed priorities are. That's in the linked presentation that the district shared. I would recommend checking it out on their website. But after the presentation, the trustees individually wrote 4 to 5 priorities like on their own, and then they shared them whole group. After that, they kind of combined or condensed ones that had, similar phrasing or were essentially the same. So they came up with this comprehensive list of priorities. Some of them, maybe only one trustee had on their original list, but a lot of them there was, shared priorities throughout. And then after that, they voted on which ones were most important in their eyes. And these were the 4 that were pulled out. So they weren't limited to 4. These were just the 4 that had 5 or 4 votes. So increase all school funding for inflation and index, increase categorical weights. So these are like money that's given to like specialized groups. So special ed, bilingual, for example, funding for teacher compensation and retention, and then funding full day pre-K 3 and 4 for all students. So that was what was pulled out, these 4 priorities. They're going to vote on them at the end of this month. And that was the full board briefing.